Hello everybody and welcome to episode 12 of the Shiny Bees podcast, out and about at Yarndale. Today is Sunday the 29th of September and we're mostly going to be talking about Yarndale. Hello everybody and welcome to episode 12 of the podcast. It's lovely as always to be back with you talking again. A warm welcome to all new and returning listeners. It's nice that you're back here with me, and for any new listeners, just be aware that this is not the normal format of this podcast. It is a break from the norm, from the traditional format, and there won't be a pattern pick, disappointingly enough, today either, because this one is going to be focusing pretty much solely on my recent trip to Yarndale. So, how are you all? I hope you're all well. Things have been continuing at pace here in lovely rural Lincolnshire until my recent escape. We've escaped on the train up to Yorkshire at the weekend to go to Yarndale, which is a new yarn festival. It's held in Skipton in North Yorkshire. And according to the Yarndale website, and I will read it from there, this is the description for those of you who are not aware of what Yarndale is. It says, held at Skipton Auction Mart, Yarndale is an exciting new venture which aims to celebrate the beauty and diversity of wool, cotton, linen and silk fibres in all their forms. The event will bring together an inspiring mix of retailers, manufacturers, craft workers and artisans from all over the country who are passionate about beautiful yarns, threads and textile treasures. And for those of you who are not familiar with Skipton itself, the historic market town of Skipton is famed for its 900-year-old medieval castle and ancient cobbled streets, and the town has a strong textile heritage. It was once surrounded by mills spinning the world's finest yarns and threads, and the very name Skipton is derived from the Old English word skip, meaning sheep. Sheep farming is still of great importance to the region and has a huge impact on the life and landscape of this area of outstanding natural beauty. There are a great number of yarn-based businesses as well as many talented artists and craft workers in the area. The description for that carries on for a bit more afterwards, but there will be a link in the show notes if you want to read a bit more about it and have a bit of a mooch around on their website. So I got up very early on Saturday morning. Well, I say very early, just a little bit earlier than normal. And I'd booked train tickets, very excited, getting on the train, plenty of knitting time to go up to Yarndale. So it was about a 3-hour drive, and it was about a 3-hour drive and train journey. So I figured I will get the train and I will just drive to the East Coast Main Line and get on the train at Newark. And it was quite cheap tickets that I got, so I was very pleased with myself. And got there and got on the train, got all settled down. Luckily there was no one sat next to me because that's always a bit of a disappointment. I normally get my knitting out and sit there with knitting so that if there is a spare seat next to me, people don't want to take it, because I'm obviously a little bit weird because I'm knitting in public unashamedly and I'm kind of under 60. That works for me because it's more elbow room. And off we went. And it was all going really well until we got to Wakefield. And we stopped in the station and we stopped for a bit more, and then all of a sudden the guard came on and said, really sorry, somebody's crashed their vehicle into a bridge ahead of us on the line and we can't carry on until the bridge has been inspected. So every bridge has got these signs up saying if you crash into the bridge you must ring up this number and come and get them to look at the bridge just in case. I mean, it could collapse, couldn't it? I'm not sure how bad the accident was or whether, who it was that crashed into the bridge or anything, but we were stuck there for quite some time. And after about 40 minutes, they eventually cancelled the service. And I'm just kind of stuck there in Yorkshire. I'm Lancastrian, so this makes me a little bit uneasy in the first place, but at least Skipton is almost in Lancashire, so that's not too bad. And found a kindly looking gentleman with a well-groomed moustache who looked like he knew what was going on. And said, how are you from around here? Is there another way to get to Leeds? How far is it? Etc. I'd already missed my connecting train, so this was disappointing. And he said, no, you must get on the bus outside the train station and go to another train station and then get on the train from there. It takes a bit longer, but you can get there. It's a different line. So that was my plan, and then they cancelled the train anyway. So I thought there's no point waiting for the next train, because they're probably going to cancel that. I mean, how many bridge engineers work on a Saturday, really, in Wakefield? So, no offence if you are a bridge engineer and you were at work, of course, but I didn't fancy my chances of getting there before lunchtime if I didn't get on with it. So that's what we did. And there were a surprising lack of people knitting on the train, or even wearing token knitwear, so that you could tell that's where they're going. But I somehow managed to bump into, on the bus, at the front of the bus, there was 3 other ladies who were all chatting away about knitting and stuff and where they come from, and I had some token knitwear on, so they said, oh, are you going to Yarndale? Yeah, so we're chatting away. And it turned out that one of them actually goes to a knitting group in Sleaford, which I was going to go to last month and miss, but I'm going to this month, so I would have already known her had I gone. Which was a bit weird. Quite a small world. Of all the people on that train that I ended up stood on the bus next to was her. And she's lovely, she's a very nice lady. So we had a good natter all the way to Leeds, and then we all got on the train together to Skipton, and we're all talking. We went into this carriage, and there was a tall, skinny gentleman with a suit on. Very fashionable kind of pop idol hair. Lovely bloke, very nice, on his way to Saltaire. And he sat there. And these chatting ladies come up, and 2 of them sit down, then 2 more of them sit down, and his little eyes just got wider and wider and wider. And then we started talking about knitting, and he was just like, oh my word, get me out of here. In a very polite way. He was, like I say, he was a lovely bloke, and this was like a red rag to a bull for me, so I just started like bantering him and winding him up and asking him did he want us to teach him to knit and all this kind of stuff. And he just sat there with his copy of The Guardian going, oh, Salter, come on. If only I was on a Japanese bullet train, I'd already be there and I would be safe. But yeah, that was quite amusing, quite good sport for us anyway. And we got there and got in. When we got there, it was incredibly busy. Speaking to people afterwards who'd been chatting to other people and things, the organisers, I think, were only expecting about 10,000 people over the whole weekend, and 12,000 people turned up just on the Saturday. So you can imagine, you think you're getting so many people, you make this event, you think, yeah, there's loads of rooms, loads of toilets, everything's fine, we've got enough catering, and then twice as many people turn up, more than twice as many people turn up than what you were expecting. So it was extremely busy. The expo itself was held in the auction mart, so it did smell a little bit like livestock, I'm not going to lie to you. But we're used to that around here, because we live in Lincolnshire, so everything smells a little bit like livestock. And the entrance hall had all been decorated in bunting, crocheted bunting. It was really pretty, with some exhibitions of knitted food, a knitted picnic, and some knitted Andalusian food sent by some ladies in Andalusia. Didn't get much chance to look at it because it was just so busy when we went in there. You couldn't see what was actually there. So I had a quick, brief look on the way out after surmising for quite some time with Nick from Yarns from the Plain podcast about how you would knit every grain of rice in a paella. It just got crazy from that day on, from that point on in, really, as you'll hear a bit later. But I've got to mention, as we walked through the park from the train station, there was a beautiful kind of municipal park type thing, and it had all been yarn bombed. So we got to the canal, and there was all these little duckies on the canal, and there were these little were they knitted? I think they were knitted or crocheted. I'm sorry, I should really have paid more attention. I did at the time, but I can't now remember. Little crocheted duckies on some little blue yarn water. The canal wasn't blue. The canal was not blue. But the knitted canal was blue. And it was over the handrail, over the bridge. So, and this kind of carried on through the whole thing. It was really cute. So you could find your way to the place. And it was an agricultural market, in effect, auction market. So all of the stalls were in sheep pens, which again it made it quite an intimate atmosphere because everyone was quite close together, so it felt quite bustling, quite markety. But because of the time I got there, I think I got there about lunchtime in the end, it was extremely busy and quite bustly, and you didn't feel like you could stop and look at things or stop and speak to people because people are trying to get past. There's a lot of jostling going on. So that was it just made it a bit of a hectic feel, really. It wasn't a big kind of good or bad point. It was just, I found a lot of the stalls, I was like, I must go here first, must go there, must go there. I couldn't get into the stalls because they were so busy. And you want a bit of space, and you don't, because we're all British, so we stand there and we don't want to touch a yarn that someone else might be looking at because it's like a bit rude. Oh, that's me anyway. You might be elbowing people out of the way, but I don't. I'm kind of like, are you looking at that? Is it okay if I just like touch it and look at it myself? So I had a bit of a wander down one or two of the aisles, and then there was a big seating area, and it was like stadium style seating. It must be where the actual auction thing takes place after they've done the walking around to view the livestock part. And I spotted Nick with her cardigan on and thought, I wonder if that's her. And I was like, I don't know if it's her or not, but that does look like a cardigan. And she said white t-shirt, shorter hair, and that lady is wearing that ensemble. But there are so many people here, it could be someone else with that very same outfit on. And I'm a bit scared of going saying hello to her because she's like a proper famous podcaster. And well, you know what? I can't get down the aisles anyway, so I'm going to go and see if it's her. And if it's not her, I'm sure whoever it is lovely. I'll have a chat to them whether or not. Anyway, it turned out it was her. So we had a bit of a chat, and then we went shopping again, in her case, and just kind of re-established in mine. I'd already done a bit of shopping at that point, but then kind of given up because I couldn't get through. So we did that. And yeah, there's a lot of chattering about certain different vendors and things, because I got together with, I'm sorry, I'm assuming I've already told you this and I've not. We collared Amy from Knit Spin Cake, and there was Nick and I was like, oh, I've brought my laptop, I've brought my microphone, let's do some recording. So I've probably nicked all their material for the next episodes, but I ambushed them, and they were very gracious, so thank you very much, ladies, because I didn't ask permission beforehand. I was just like, let's go record some stuff, and they were like, yeah, alright then, because that's just what podcasters are like, I suppose. And we'd been having a right old giggle going around some of the stalls, so we were having such a good time. I decided we needed to capture it, so we did. I met Amy's mum, who's lovely, very northern, with a lovely accent. She was enjoying herself immensely, I think. And also met some lovely listeners as well. There was, as I was talking to Amy's mum, it's gone, DQ Knits up from Twitter and on Ravelry, and her name's gone. I'm sure it's Jen. I'm sorry if I've forgotten your name. Sorry, my mind's gone blank there. I'm sure it is Jen. Yeah, Jennifer. It is. It's Jennifer. I saw this lady coming past with the yellow shawl on and this necklace that she described, and I was halfway through a conversation and I had stuff in my hand. I just grabbed her by the hand and she just looked at me and said, "Who are you? Grabbing my hand, you crazy lady." And I was like, "Hi, you're right. It's lovely to meet you." And she was just going, "Okay, get the crazy away from me." And I was like, "It's Jo from the Shiny Bees podcast." And then obviously I'm stood there with two others, and she was just like, "Wow, this is cool." So I saw her. And unfortunately I didn't get to meet up with some of the other people we planned to meet up with because there was no signal in the place. So not only was there nothing left in my battery by the time it got to going home time, but unfortunately I didn't get to meet up with some of the other people. So I'm very sorry to those of you that I didn't get up to meet up with, because it was really hard to spot people you're walking around because there were so many people there as well. So, but I hope you all had a good time. If you did. What else did I have down? The next part I'm going to put in is our little chatter session. We were talking, myself, Nick and Amy, about stuff that we bought and just a few thoughts about Yarndale, the festival itself, our first impressions really. So I've not edited that. I'm not going to edit any of this. It's just going to all be a bit rough and ready. So as I said, if this is your first time listening, this is not the normal format of the podcast, but I hope you will enjoy it. And then after this part I'll just throw in a few thoughts at the end of people that I noticed that I haven't really seen around in terms of vendors that might be worth a further look. And disappointingly, one in particular that I wanted to buy something from, and I just bought a bottle of water because I was so thirsty, and it was the first time there hadn't been a queue at the refreshment stand, like a mile long queue. and I didn't have enough then to buy a skein of yarn, and they didn't have a card machine, so that was disappointing. But yeah, you do kind of need water to live as well, so I'll be going on Etsy, I think, to rectify that issue, but I'll tell you about that a bit later on. So, without further ado, here is our recorded segment from the day at Yarndale. There are some bits where the levels got up and down because we were outside and it got a bit windy because we were in the hills, so I do apologise for that if the levels go up and down, but there's just no way I can get rid of them. So, here we go. So, I'm joined here today with the lovely, because it's always the lovely, isn't it, for podcasts?
No, it's the absolutely hideously horrible spendthrift Nick. I am lovely, really, honest.
From Yarns to the Plain, and
it's a very grand introduction.
Yeah.
Amy from Knitspin Cake. And that was probably a bit too Newcastle for you.
No, it's alright. I was told the other day that I was a true Geordie, which is completely incorrect, but there we go.
I was going to say, I'm married to a Geordie, you're really not.
No, I'm from Durham. I just looked at it and I was like, no.
And I managed to corral them after some reconnaissance at Yarndale, and they've agreed very kindly to come and have a chat to us all about all the stuff that Nick bought.
Yes, the crazy one who ended up talking to small skeins of yarn in a bowl and pretending that they had a life of their own.
But you liberated
really them. Well, I did. I liberated the two that weren't purple. And I love purple, but I just felt that maybe they were drowning in purple.
Yeah.
So that was in a skein addict who I've never even heard of before. How atrocious is that?
Stash addict.
Stash
but
addict.
It wasn't Mrs. Stash addict with the beautiful hair. I liked her hair.
She didn't nip to the toilet.
Yeah, she went to the toilet, so it was Mr. Stash addict, who was equally well groomed, but I think a little bit frightened.
Yeah, but that may have been the realisation that he was with three slightly mad people.
Yeah, confined in a pen as well.
Yeah, no way out. He was in the back of the pen. There were three of us, several shopping bags.
Yes, and laughing about the fact that we were talking to people who actually responded, which had us all in stitches, and the poor man obviously didn't understand, because he obviously spends most of his time talking to real people that respond as opposed to sitting in a room with a microphone and talking to people that may not be listening. Or are listening several weeks later.
Yeah,
in my case.
Usually the case, definitely.
Or several years later even.
Yep.
We are outside, and we kind of seem to be in the business end of things, you know, like the back of a restaurant or pig pen type place. So if you hear a few random rattles
or bins
or livestock, that's why. But we're on location, so it's all good. And
it's not raining, so that's really good.
Yeah, that's very true.
Absolutely. So
right.
Who's going to start then? Going to start us off. Maybe you must start us off, Nick, and then we'll go round and we'll come back to you.
Oh, all right then.
Maybe AM versus PM purchases.
Oh, right. So what? Right. Okay. So let's have it. Yeah, let's have this.
Or
This is the stuff that I bought before I met Joe, and then the stuff I bought after Joe enabled me. Should we do it that way?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Right. Okay. Where should we start? Right. Let's. She says, looking in. I'm sat here with 1, 2, 3, 4 bags in front of me, but some of those bags have got other bags inside them, so that's really bad. Right, okay, I started off going to Anne Kingston, who I adore.
Me too.
She's lovely.
I went over this morning and gave her a big hug. She's lovely.
Yeah, she is. She's just wonderful.
And you've lost what you bought?
No, I haven't lost what I bought. It's just that I'm trying to find it. It's not quite the same thing at all. So what I did was I bought a copy of Stranded Knits, which is her newest book, which has got all of the skills that you would possibly need to learn to knit stranded items, which I'm okay at actually, but it's never such a bad idea to have it in pictures to remind you how to look for things, like how to crochet reinforcements. And
she's really good at workshops. I did a sticking workshop, it was really good.
And sort of all, different ways to wrap stitches. And she's just started some yarn lines, and they've all got Yorkshire dialect names. So I've got a skein of Nesh, which is an Aran British blue-faced Leicester in red, so I want to make a hat out of that. And 2 skeins of Fettle, which is a 2-ply 100% British lamb's wool, and each of those has got 820 metres in it, so that's probably going to be it might be a featherweight cardigan or a whisper or another adrift, because I'm a bit addicted to adrifts. So that's those, and I had a lovely catch up with Anne. And then I went to Laxton's, which is Yorkshire Mill, and bought some of their undyed yarn, some 4-ply for socks, superwash Blueface Leicester, and some Blueface and Massam marble roving, which I would say, looking at the meterage, is probably a DK weight. So just to play around with dyeing some of those. And then I had an accident at Hilltop Cloud and bought some more fibre. And a nice apron from Quince Pie with little owls on it. A waterproof apron, because I want a new apron for dyeing. Not to dye in my kitchen, obviously, but
dye in style.
Yeah, to dye with a Y.
Home, please bury me in it.
Yes.
There's slightly non-morbid note.
Yeah, please bury me in it. Then I went to this fabulous bag designer called Daisy Bunboo Designs, who is obviously the lovely Amy's mum, and picked up my TARDIS bag that she'd made for me. It's a cute project bag with TARDISes on it. It's fabulous. I'm very excited. And then I went to the Natural Dye Studio and bought a kit to make one of their scarves with the rainbow.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, it's the iris one, so it's lots of little hexagons, but you knit them in colours so that it looks like a rainbow. So it's rather gorgeous. And then I sat down for a bit and had some lunch because I was very tired. And then I started all over again. But I think it might be somebody else's turn for a bit because I'm a bit embarrassed by how much I've bought.
Yeah, but it's just good that I could live vicariously through your yarn purchases.
It's true.
I think a lot of people live vicariously through my yarn purchases. The only thing I have to console themselves with is that I don't go out, I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I don't have any children. So that's my excuse of why I spend all my expendable budget on furry stuff.
That's a brilliant excuse, because the small children, you spend all your money on them and then they drive you to drink. And so you spend all the rest of your money on that. Or must I go now?
Yeah,
Is that fine?
Okay. Yeah.
I've been really good. Well, I've not been really good at all, because I've forgotten about that other one that fell into my bag.
The one that you'd already bought before I came here.
Oh, that is nice.
No. I was meant to be researching things. I wasn't meant to be buying anything apart from needles, and that happened, but I also ended up buying something else. I got some Chiagu needles from Pearlescence, £6, double pointed needles, 2.25mm. They sold out of 2.5, but the guy there was really lovely and said if I email him, he won't charge me postage on 2.5.
He's really nice.
Lovely.
He opened up their little studio especially for me to go there to pick up my sunflowers with.
Yeah.
He's a very nice man, and he gave me a discount.
Oh, nice bloke. Yeah. I've shopped with them before. I've got my blocking wires from them and stuff.
Yeah.
They're really good. I really like them. And then because I couldn't have the ones I wanted, I ended up going for some hires, which seemed to be a little crazy.
Oh, don't know what that is.
What's it called? Safety pin?
I was going to say, it looks like a safety pin.
Yeah, in the back. I'm not really sure. Is that meant to be like a trial knit marker or something? Maybe it's a marker. Maybe it's
Sometimes they do give away
marker.
free ones in their stuff.
Didn't even notice that. Bargain. £6. 2.5mm ones. Never tried them. Have you tried them?
No, because I don't really like knitting with metal needles. I prefer.
I've heard good things.
Wood.
Yeah, people do rave about them, but we'll see. Because we had a discussion about the Knit Pro DPNs, and I do have some wooden ones, but I don't like how the points are not all the same size.
They're not very pointy.
They're not.
No, well, some of the ones are, and some of them are not so pointy. And that's the annoying thing. I mean, either one or the other, I think. So, yeah. Then I fell into 5 Moons. I've never knitted with their stuff before. And it doesn't look quite as impressive inside, well, outside, but it did inside.
We're sat in the
No,
shade,
it
though.
is lovely.
We are in the shade.
When the light comes on it, it does shimmer.
Yeah, it's a colour that I don't even like, but I like this. The colourway is called Fool's Gold, and it's kind of like ochre, maybe? Is it
Yeah.
ochre?
Yeah, but it does go with. Joe's wearing a sort of a bluey violet cardigan, and it actually goes with that really, really well.
That does work.
Yeah, unfortunately I didn't knit it. Marks and Spencer's did.
So it's crying out for a knitted accessory.
It does neat. It will pop. The colours will pop, definitely.
Colour blocking.
Yes, it's beautiful, very trendy. And Diana 4-ply, 50% superwash merino, 50% silk. And the colourway name obviously just makes you think Stone Roses. So
Yeah.
it's worth buying just for that. And then the final thing I bought was from Lyle there, who's northwestern, so we like them. And it's what are these called? Is it ombre yarn or art yarn? Gradient.
Gradient.
Yeah,
Gradient.
yarn. And it goes from kind of like steely blue through to kind of bright blue. Gradient yarn. And that is sparkly again.
I was going to say, what she hasn't told you yet, listeners, is it has got a lot of sparkle in it.
Yeah, sorry, it is Razzle Dazzle it's called. 75% merino, 20% nylon, 5% silver stellina. So, yeah, 100 grams, 400 metres.
And ready caked.
Ready caked, which is a big fashion in South Africa. We get things ready caked a lot there.
It's a big bonus.
It's yeah, it just means you're going to cast it on quicker, doesn't it? You
Yeah.
have to think about it. There isn't that
True.
off-putting.
Yeah, if you've got the right
winding
size needles, you can do that in the train on the way home.
Yeah.
bugger. Done.
Enabler!
Yeah, well, at least you've got your own back now.
I think I got my own back when I persuaded you to buy that.
Yeah, you did.
I
Sweet
was
revenge.
behind you going, it's really glittery, it's really nice,
I know.
it's really glittery. Buy it.
Look at this sparkle.
Good. I managed to step away from several things at Sparkle Dock, as
Yeah.
well as a skein of cashmere.
There was a lot of really nice stuff at Sparkle Dock, actually.
There was, yeah. It really
nice.
That was a problem, I think. There was so much nice stuff I could really choose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get overwhelmed.
Massively, massively. What did you buy today?
I've not bought much because I've been tethered to my mother's stand and she let me off every now and again to have a bit of a run around. I bought 2 books by Susan Crawford, Vintage Gifts to Knit and Coronation Knits, which were on offer, so they were 2 for £10.
I have to say, I very nearly bought them, but I couldn't see that she had a card machine, and I was down to my last tenner. And then I needed to keep that because I needed to rescue some small mini skeins.
That is true. They did need to be rescued, but that was a bit of a bargain, and I do quite like Susan Crawford. And the other book, again, I also bought Stranded Knits. It was the first thing I bought at about 10 o'clock this morning. I ran to Anne.
Yeah, it's the first thing I bought. I realised as well that I had another pre-lunch purchase, which was because obviously
I forgot we're going back to you again.
yeah, because obviously I haven't bought enough yet. Because the law is obviously that if I go to a yarn show where John from Easy Knits is there, I have to buy something.
Yeah.
Because I am secretly in love with John from Easy Knits, and actually it's not a secret at all. I just love his colour. I just absolutely love it. Anyway, he's got. When I saw him last at Fibre East, I was so late on the Sunday that he only had 1 skein of each colour left in the big boy, which he does in 2 skein sizes, 100 grams and 150 grams, and he only had 1 each of the colours left in the 150 grams. But today I arrived early enough that there was quite a lot, so I've got 2 skeins of the boysenberry, which is the purple, which is really nice. It's a 4-ply British yarn, Exmoor Blueface, alpaca and nylon, and so that's going to be a cardigan because I am rocking the cardigan at the moment. I'm just obsessed with knitting cardigans.
Yeah, same here. Garments,
So that
garments,
one you got
garments.
on is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
So it's my Cyrene Adrift by Carol Feller from Stolen Stitches, and I do love it. And I've got another one on the needles that just needs a bit of sorting out, where I was unpicking the cast on to get some of the original cherry yarn to finish the last row in the stripes. So so then after I met up with Jo,
Don't blame it all
no,
on
it's
me.
not Jo's at all, but she gave me a second wind, and I was able to then go and buy some more things. Actually, I don't think it's quite as bad as I think it is.
No, it's that big bag of stuff beginning with an F.
Yeah,
was the problem.
Yeah, which I didn't actually have any intention of buying. Actually, I bought some little tiny mini skeins from John at Easy Knits as well.
Oh,
little
yeah,
nano
ones
skeins.
too.
They're actually teeny tiny ones. They're only 10 metres per skein, so they're little diddly ones in solid colours. Right? Yes, we sort of started having walked around once and then sat down with exhaustion. I then went back out with Jo and browsed a lot, and I thought about some things from Albert that I didn't. But what I did do is end up at Fibre Spates by the Scrumptious, and the thing with the Scrumptious is that when you stood looking at the Scrumptious, you could see through the wire frame that she'd hung all the yarn from, and you could see right across to the other side where Anne Kingston's display was. And on Anne Kingston's display was Malorn, which is made out of Scrumptious, and it's from A Time to Knit, which was published last year. and it has a simple stocking body, but then around the yoke there's a contrast colour, and then you knit a lace piece in the same colour as the main colour that sits on the top, so that it looks like a yoked stranded knit, but when you get close to it you realise it's actually 2 layers of fabric with a contrast colour shining through behind the lace work. So I'm afraid to say that I just went back to Anne's to have a look in stranded knits to work out how many skeins I needed to buy, and then back to Fibre Spates and spent all of next month's housekeeping on the Fibre Spates. So I've got it so that my main my main colour is going to be this really emerald green, really. Would you say? Yeah?
Yeah, it's a good green.
I think it's a newish green because I don't remember seeing it before. It's called Jen's Green. And then my contrast is...
wow.
Yeah, it's kind of got to make your eyes bleed fuchsia, which I couldn't... Well, it's not even fuchsia, is it? It's kind of magenta, really. She calls it magenta. So, which I don't think I could wear a whole garment of. But contrasting with this green, I'm hoping will work really, really, really nicely.
Yeah, they go well together.
Yeah. Be nice wintry.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Our colours get a lot more rich, don't they?
Yeah, and it
They
makes
do.
you all cheery when you're in bright colours.
And actually, I don't think, for all that we're laughing, I don't think I have anything else.
Are you sure?
I seem to have bought more stuff with you, but I can't find any more.
No.
Yes.
What
Well
about
done.
that one?
Oh, yes. Well, while we were at Sparkle Duck, we were admiring a fabulous sample that was knit up in their silk and sea cell, and it's the I don't know if you pronounce it. I want to pronounce it Roccio because I want to pronounce it with the Italian pronunciation, but since Ruth at Rock and Pearl is Spanish, I'm guessing that's not how you pronounce it. Rocio? I don't know.
Possibly. I've just bought a pattern off her and I can't pronounce that one either.
It's spelled Rocio, and I know that Spanish pronunciation of C isn't the same as Italian. So, but it's a gorgeous beaded stole, and it's really, really, really nice. So I bought that pattern, and it was a bargain. And she gives you it as a paper pattern with a nice badge, but also there's a download code. So when you go on Ravelry, you can then go and download a PDF of it. So even if you lose your paper pattern, you've got your PDF all the time, which I thought was a bit star-like.
It is.
And then we finally ended up at a Skein Addict, if I get the name right this time.
Stash Addict.
Stash Addict. I think I'm getting her confused with Skein Queen.
Yeah, who is also here.
She is. We walked past her, so there you are, a Stash Addict. There you go. It's all just too much for this bear of little brain. And that's when I bought, it is the fumes, that's when I bought 2 tiny little mini skeins to go on my unloved sock yarn blanket. One of which is a kind of a pale mint green, and one of which is a pale blue with a stellina sparkle in it, which were the only mini skeins left in this bowl that weren't purple based, which is why I ended up rescuing them and making them talk to me. Sorry. But it's nearly time for me to go back on the bus to the safe house now. Back with the other inmates.
I hope to get a bit more of a look around tomorrow, because hopefully I'll get to do more spending. Yeah, this is so unlike me. Usually I'm kind of whizzing around, ducking and weaving, bobbing and diving.
I was going to say,
your mum started doing all the good sales lady stuff.
Oh, I know, she'll talk the hind legs of a donkey. So I'm going to leave her tomorrow and go off and try and buy some yarn.
If there's anything left.
If there's anything left, that is a good point. Or fibre, but I haven't been spinning much, so we'll see.
And what do you think of the overall kind of things? It's new, isn't it, Yarndale?
Yeah, this is the first year, and everyone that's been coming to our stand has been saying that parking was chaotic. But then a friend of ours who didn't get here till about 3 o'clock got pulled up outside the door because she came later. So
there was a marked difference. Like, it was about 1:05 when I went in to go and sit down in the sort of the auction arena, and that's when Joe came and spotted my cardigan across a crowded room. But when we came back out again, I thought it was noticeably calmer.
Yes.
The first 3 hours were manic. We were here for just after 10 o'clock, and it was manic.
It was. The ladies' toilets had broken before the public had even got in the doors, so it's been a bit manic.
And I do know, I spoke to a couple of people that said that they'd had problems with disabled parking. I mean, we came on a coach, so we had no problem at all. We just sort of parked up and were dropped off, and then the coach is parked up really nearby, so it's not too bad at all. But I think there might be some teething issues, but I don't know whether the the organisers or even the auction mart would have necessarily had an idea of how many people would come
Yeah.
out.
I didn't think there'd be this many.
No,
but it was a lot.
It's been really busy, really busy.
Because it didn't seem to be like they were ramming the whole thing down your throat on, you know,
No.
in terms of marketing.
No, not at
It
all.
was mentioned by a few people, but nothing major. So
I think it's just been quite a broad lot of people have been talking about it, because Bahram, you were talking about it, and people on podcasts are talking about it, and then I guess blogs have picked it up, so I think word spread really well.
Yeah, and I mean it's in such a location that, I mean, we got here in an hour and a half from Cheshire.
yeah.
Would it be about the same from the northeast?
Yeah, we were about an hour and 3/4.
So it's probably that location for, you know, if you live in Cumbria, if you live in Northumberland, if you live, you know, sort of lower down in the northeast, if you live in Cheshire, it's actually within a comfortable driving distance for the
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
day. So
It's closer than Woolfest for us.
Yeah,
definitely.
it is for us as well.
Significantly closer.
yeah. So have a lovely day.
Yeah, I've had a good day, and I've got it all to do again tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm just here for the fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for coming and talking, because I know I'm very conscious you've got to get on your coach, or else you're not going to get
I
home.
have been told quite seriously that it is leaving at 4:30, and it's just leaving at 4:30 whether everybody's on it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which could be a bit tricky if I don't kind of, you know, scamper.
And I'm not even sure if I can get home, whether they've cleared up the whole bridge crash issue thing on the East Coast Main Line. My car's at Newark, so we'll see what happens there.
Yes, bit of a problem potentially.
Adventures.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
adventures in yarn.
Adventures.
Definitely.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, as I said earlier, a big thanks to Nick and Amy from Yarns from the Plain and Knit Spin Cake podcast, respectively, for coming and having a bit of a natter with us. It was a lot more raucous, I've got to say, going around the stalls. I know people do get a little bit overexcited at these things, these sorts of events, and luckily, Mr. Astash Addict and others just kind of humoured us and are kind of ridiculous, getting all overexcited and giggling and taking the mickey a lot and being generally a bit raucous, whilst we were going round, and we had a really lovely time actually. The other places that came to mind, or that I saw after Nick had gone home on the bus, hopefully she made it onto the bus in time and wasn't late because of me. I think she did, otherwise I'm sure I would have heard about it by now. I don't think she'd have let me get away with that. There were a lot. There were like 161 maybe stalls, I think it was altogether, so there was a lot of stuff. The thing I thought was really good about this festival over others perhaps is the number of really small indie dyers that I didn't know about before and have since seen that I've literally never even heard of. And I do look into I have been looking into indie dyers a lot recently in this country to try and find my new pushers, shall we say, locally, and there were still even some that I've still not heard of. So that was really good, because sometimes you can go to these shows and if you go to a few around the country you tend to see the same names over and over again. I think the reason there were so many smaller people was because I think the stall prices were a bit lower, and I think that makes for a better experience, because that's the kind of thing that I go to these events for, is to see the smaller guys and find new stuff that I wouldn't have found otherwise. And of course there were some of the big players there as well. They just had more pig pens than everyone else. So there were a few more that I wanted to mention that weren't mentioned before. The first one is Bartat Hand-Dyed Yarns. They are from Ilkley Mill Bartat. I won't sing it for you. If you don't know it, you're not really missing that much, I guess. But yeah, Bartat Hand-Dyed Yarns, beautiful. They were the people I wanted to buy a skein from, and it was a really nice, really rich turquoise kind of tealy shade, but I didn't have enough money to buy it because I'd just spent money on water. Can you believe it? So she was lovely, the lady there. I'm thinking Sherry her name, but I could just be making that up. Maybe I need a Sherry now. But she was really nice, and there was more than one skein that I did want to rehome, but being aware that I was on my last pennies, not quite so aware of how last pennies I was, obviously. So I definitely recommend to check them out. I think they are also stocked by Bahram Yi, from memory. Not 100% sure, but I will link to the Bartat store in the show notes. The next one is a new one as well, that I've never seen anywhere, called Mo & Co. This is a company that are spinning and dyeing their own mohair yarns from their own flock of Angora sheep. And the lady that was there, I was talking to for quite a while. She was really interesting lady, really nice, and I think she's called Louise. She was lovely, and it's something new that they've gone into, and they've teamed up with a designer whose name escapes me at the moment, but I want to call her Amanda something or other. But I will link to them. I'll find them and link them in the extensive show notes for this episode of all the places that we went to visit and buy from. And they're getting their yarn spun locally, and they're dyeing it up and selling it. And there's something they've just got into, but the yarn looked lovely. So what I wanted to do was come home and check what I wanted to make with it first before buying it. Mohair's got quite a bad reputation. I think it's this kind of itchy sort of 70s monstrosity, but it's actually really nice. I've been reintroduced to it through Nurturing Fibres in South Africa, who do a sock yarn called Man Sock that has a mohair content in it for strength, along with nylon and merino. So I've been kind of newly awakened to mohair, and she said a lot of their fleeces used to be shipped out to South Africa because that's one of the main markets, but now they want to kind of keep it local and do it themselves. So they are very new. I think the website is not quite ready yet, but they're definitely someone to keep your eye out for in the future. The next one I've got for you is Natural Born Dyers. They are a company that are from memory, somewhere along Hadrian's Wall in Northumberland, somewhere to the west of Newcastle anyway. And they do plant dyeing, natural extract dyeing of yarns, and they had some really beautiful stuff, including one called Blue Bottle, which was a really nice kind of bluey grey colour. So they're definitely worth a look as well. And the last one, I think for the most interesting stall title, is called Yarn Garden Yarns, and their stall had green, IKEA green rug on the floor, so it wasn't like the concrete like everyone else's. It was these rugs on the floor that were green, and all of the yarns were laid out in the little propagation trays you get for growing seedlings, the green ones. They were all laid out in those on the little the mini greenhouses, the little four shelved mini greenhouses, without the greenhouse thing around it, because that might have made the yarn not be able to breathe. But yeah, they were in there. And it was just a really interesting way of displaying them, and it was actually quite useful because everything was against exactly the same colour, and because they were laid out quite neatly and not all piled up like you get in some stores, you could actually see and compare nicely what you were getting. So I really liked that store. I thought it was really quite good fun. The only other thing I had to mention, which was a brief one, because we have to get somehow in there, either knitted dog sweaters or some kind of faux taxidermy. But there was, on the Toft Alpaca stall, a faux taxidermy rhino head for sale. I didn't buy it because I think it was about 180 quid. But, yeah, Nick found it and tweeted me a picture, and it was a crocheted rhino head. How awesome is that? So, yeah, that definitely made the event for me, I've got to say. That was the high point. I will make my rhino head at some point, I promise. It has only just recently been National Rhino Day or International Rhino Day, so I know a lot of people have been doing things for that, including Heidi Bears, who's just released a rhino pattern. I will talk more about her in the next episode, but she's a South African crochet designer, and you'll probably have seen a lot of her designs around recently, based around African flower motifs. She did a hippo, Happy the Hippo, that's been ridiculously popular, and there's been a lot more patterns come off the back of that one, the latest one of which being Tandy the Rhino, or TH Tandy, as in like Tandy Newton. So yeah, good luck to her on that, because I know she's doing donations from any pattern sales for that too, stop poaching type charity. So yeah, anyway, that is definitely all for this evening. Like I say, a bit of a break from the norm and unedited and no pattern pick. I apologise if you're a pattern picker. There will be definitely one in the next one, not including any cat mains or anything else, I promise. But I shall let you all go, so hopefully you'll have this for Monday morning. It will cheer you up somewhat if you didn't get to go to Yarndale this time. And if you didn't and it runs next year, I would definitely recommend it. Possibly not on Saturday morning though, maybe a little bit later. So yes, all that remains for me to say is happy crafting. Hope you all have a great week and speak to you all again soon. Bye! You've been listening to the Shiny Bees podcast. Show notes to the podcast can be found at www.shinybees.com.